By 25, Erling Haaland has numbers that don't look real. Over 300 professional goals in around 370 games. Faster to that mark than Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Harry Kane, or Robert Lewandowski were at the same age. He's the fastest player ever to reach 50 Champions League goals, doing it in just 49 matches. He's the fastest to 100 Premier League goals, hitting that milestone in only 111 games. He's broken the single-season Premier League scoring record, led Manchester City to a historic treble, and turned Norway from a forgotten national team into a World Cup participant again. And yet you still hear the same line: he's just a tap-in merchant. He'd struggle without service. City might even be worse with him. So how did a supposedly one-dimensional striker end up taking over modern football, and what happens when he hits his actual peak? To answer that, you have to start with a 5-year-old kid in Brian, who was literally breaking world records for jumping. Erling Braut Haaland was born in Leeds in July 2000, while his dad Alf Inge was playing in the Premier League for Leeds United. When the family moved back to Norway, Erling wasn't just another football kid. At the age of 5, he set a world record for the standing long jump in his age category, 1.63 meters, a freak combination of power and coordination, before he even knew what tactics were. His dad had a different dream. Between the ages of 10 and 13, Alf Inge tried to push him towards becoming a professional golfer, dragging him to the course and imagining him on the PGA Tour. Erling went along. But every story from Brian says the same thing. As soon as golf was over, he was back on the pitch, shooting, sprinting, jumping. He joined Brian's academy at just 5 years old and stayed there for more than a decade. For the reserve team in Norway's 4th tier, he scored 18 goals in 14 games, ridiculous numbers for a teenager. But when he stepped up to Brian's first team in the 2nd division, reality hit: 16 games, 0 goals. No viral clips, no super agent rumors, just a tall, awkward forward trying to figure it out. Clubs were interested, but not desperate. He even had a trial at Hoffenheim that didn't lead anywhere. The real change came when Molde signed him in 2017 and put him under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. His first season was modest, 4 goals in 20 matches, but in 2018, the switch flipped. In June, against unbeaten league leaders Brann, Haaland scored 4 goals in 21 minutes. The game finished 4-0. That night, the rest of Europe finally saw the monster Brian had raised. He ended that season as Molde's top scorer, with 16 goals in 30 games in all competitions, and was named Elite Syrian's Breakthrough of the Year. But that still wasn't the moment he took over football. That came a year later, when he turned a Youth World Cup into a personal highlight reel. At the 2019 Under-20 World Cup, Norway played Honduras in the group stage. The final score was 12-0. 9 of those goals were scored by Erling Haaland. 9 in one game. It's still a record for any men's FIFA tournament match. Most strikers go their whole career without a 9-goal month. Haaland did it in 90 minutes, and suddenly he wasn't just a prospect, he was a glitch. That summer, he joined Red Bull Salzburg, a club designed to weaponize young talent. In the 2019-2020 season, he scored 29 goals in 27 games in all competitions. But it was the Champions League where he truly went global. Salzburg were drawn into a brutal group with Liverpool and Napoli. Haaland scored 8 goals in 6 group games, including a first-half hat-trick on his Champions League debut against Genk, and goals home and away against Liverpool. The goals were all different. Left foot, right foot, headers, one-touch tap-ins, explosive sprints behind the line. The celebrations, the screams, the meditation pose, the stare into the camera turned him into a meme and a marketing dream at the same time. By Christmas, Salzburg knew he wouldn't be there long. The only question was which giant was willing to build an entire project around a 19-year-old who only cared about scoring. In January 2020, he chose Borussia Dortmund. The fee was around €20 million thanks to a smart release clause, pocket money for a club that needed star power. He didn't exactly ease himself in. Debut away at Augsburg. Dortmund are 3-1 down. Haaland comes off the bench. Within 23 minutes, he scored a hat-trick and the game ends 5-3 to Dortmund. From there, his numbers in Germany were absurd. 86 goals in 89 games in all competitions. In the 2020-2021 Champions League, he scored 10 goals and finished as the competition's top scorer, even though Dortmund didn't reach the final. This was also the birth of the modern rivalry: Kylian Mbappe versus Erling Haaland. One destroying Barcelona at the Camp Nou, the other bullying defenses in Bundesliga and Europe. With Messi and Ronaldo leaving European football in 2023, the narrative was clear. These two were next in line. But even during this explosion, critics were already circling. Tacticians wondered if Haaland was too direct, whether he could link play like Harry Kane, or survive in a Pep Guardiola system built on rotating false nines and intricate passing. Pep heard all of that and decided to sign him anyway. In 2022, Manchester City activated Haaland's €60 million release clause. In a market where forwards cost 9 figures, City got the most efficient striker in the world for less than many fullbacks. His first season in England looked like a video game on easy mode. He scored 36 Premier League goals in 35 league games, breaking the all-time single-season record. He ended the season with 52 goals in 53 matches across all competitions, as City won the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Champions League, a historic treble. He didn't just break records, he shredded them. First 8 league games, 14 goals, including 3 home hat-tricks in a row. Fastest player to 3 Premier League hat-tricks, it took him 8 matches, the previous record was 48. First player ever to win Premier League Player of the Season and Young Player of the Season in the same campaign. By 24-25, he'd already scored 300-plus professional goals, getting there in about 370 matches. Faster than Messi, Ronaldo, Mbappe, Lewandowski, or Kane. On paper, it looked like the perfect takeover. But football never lets domination go unchallenged. The more he scored, the more people tried to explain it away. After that first unreal season, reality pushed back. In late 2023, Haaland picked up a bone stress problem in his foot. He missed weeks of action, sat out Norway's crucial Euro qualifier against Scotland, and City suddenly looked human. In early 2025, he damaged his left ankle in an FA Cup quarter-final against Bournemouth. Scans were serious enough that City sent him to a specialist. The club talked about 6 or 7 weeks out. For a player whose game is built on explosive movements and violent changes of direction, that kind of injury always makes people wonder about the future. And in the middle of that, the narrative turned ugly. Analytical pieces argued that City might actually be worse with Haaland, that they pressed less, that their passing patterns were simpler, that they'd sacrifice control for goals. When he had quiet games against teams like Real Madrid, pundits said he did nothing, ignoring the double marking and the space he opened for others. One high-profile debate even joked he had Rudiger-itis after he missed a game where Antonio Rudiger had bullied him in the previous tie, a claim Pep Guardiola publicly called unfair and false, pointing to a knee problem instead. And of course, the insult that stuck online, tap-in merchant. Rival fans spammed it under every stat graphic. Long threads tried to diminish him by calling his goals easy. Haaland's answer was simple. He said he actually likes that label because if you're always there for tap-ins, it means your movement is better than everyone else's. While people on social media argued about aesthetics, he quietly kept stacking records. He became the fastest player in history to 50 Champions League goals, and by 25, he was already a top 10 scorer in the competition's entire history. But the most important part of his takeover wasn't happening in Manchester. It was happening with a national team that had been waiting nearly 3 decades for a World Cup. Norway hadn't reached a World Cup since 1998. An entire generation grew up without seeing their country on football's biggest stage. Haaland changed the math. By late 2025, his record for Norway was 55 goals in 48 games. He became the fastest player ever to reach 50 international goals, doing it in 46 matches. In the 2025 World Cup qualifiers, he went from stat padding on small nations to dismantling serious sides. Norway beat Italy 3-0 in June, their first win over the Azzurri in 25 years. Haaland scored the final goal. In September, Norway smashed Moldova 11-1. Haaland scored 5 times and added 2 assists. It was Moldova's worst defeat ever, and so brutal, their coach resigned days later. In October, he scored a hat-trick in a 5-0 win over Israel. A month later, he scored twice in a 4-1 away win against Italy to officially send Norway to the 2026 World Cup. He finished the qualifying campaign with 16 goals in 8 matches, equaling Robert Lewandowski's record for most goals in a World Cup qualifying cycle. He also scored in 11 consecutive international games, matching a streak that had stood since 1962, and that even Messi and Ronaldo never touched. For Norway, this wasn't just about numbers. This was a small football nation suddenly turning up to a World Cup with one of the deadliest players on the planet, backed by Martin Ødegaard in midfield, and a generation that grew up idolizing them. Haaland didn't just take over club football, he dragged his country back into the conversation. With all of that behind him, Haaland had a decision to make: chase the Real Madrid dream people kept talking about, or commit to the club that made him a global superstar. In 2025, he chose commitment. He signed a new 9.5 10-year contract with Manchester City, keeping him at the club until 2034. Reports described it as one of the most lucrative deals in sports history, with a base salary around £500,000 per week and the potential to go even higher with image rights. Crucially, the new deal removed the release clauses that had sparked constant Madrid rumors and locked him in with no exit clause until at least 2029. By 25, he had over 300 career goals, faster to that milestone than Messi, Ronaldo, Mbappe, Lewandowski, or Kane. A Champions League medal, 2 Premier League titles, an FA Cup, and multiple golden boots. A top 10 place on the all-time Champions League scoring list. And he did it while playing in a team that had to completely rewire its style around him. Guardiola's false nine era turned into an attack built on one idea: create enough chaos and territory so that Haaland only needs one proper touch inside the box. Defenders now drop 5 yards deeper against City, terrified of leaving space behind. Midfields sit narrower to block the passing lanes into him. Fullbacks track runners more cautiously because one misstep means he's in on goal. Analysts write about him not just as a scorer, but as gravity, a player who bends the shape of entire teams around his presence. Off the pitch, he leans into the robot image while quietly living like a monk. Interviews reveal meditation, strict sleep schedules, odd diet habits like raw milk and organ meat, little to no nightlife, and a genuine obsession with recovery and marginal gains. That's the real answer to how he took over football. It wasn't just that he scored more, it's that he made the simplest thing in the sport, finishing chances, feel inevitable. He forced tactical systems to adjust to him. He dragged a small football nation back to the World Cup. He turned tap-in merchant into a compliment. And he's done all of this before playing a minute at a World Cup, before turning 30, and with a decade-long contract that could see him rewrite almost every goal-scoring record that exists. If this is what Erling Haaland looks like before his prime is over, the real question isn't whether he already took over football. It's how much more of the record book will be left by the time he's done.